Building back better means that we must fully use the opportunity provided by the pandemic to ensure that no one is left behind. It's a call to make social protection for all a key national development goal. It means envisioning the informal economy as a critical asset, supported to create decent jobs and become engines of economic growth and sustainable development.
Notre défi du pays africain est donc d'amener la plus grande proportion de l'économie informelle à migrer vers un emploi et une entreprise décente à travers un processus de formalisation qui allie qualité et quantité de l'emploi.
La relance de l'économie appelle à des mesures fortes, ciblées, consistant à aider les entreprises à redémarrer leur activité, encourager l'investissement dans les secteurs d'avenir comme les énergies renouvelables, l'agriculture, le tourisme, les industries de transformation, l'investissement dans le capital humain, le secteur de la santé et de l'éducation.
The virus has so far taken more than 9,664 African lives, and the prospects are that more lives will be lost. We therefore called for international action to help strengthen Africa's health systems, maintain food supplies, avoid the deepening of the financial crisis, support education, protect jobs, keep households and businesses afloat, and caution the continent against lost income and export earnings.
She reminded us that on the 29th of April this year, African Ministers of Labor and Social Partners meeting in Addis Ababa, meeting under the auspices of the AU, stated equivocally that without cushioning the mechanism through financial stimulus, there will be significant losses of jobs in Africa, particularly in the informal economy. The ministers further committed themselves to work together more urgently than ever before to minimize the health, economic, and employment impact of this crisis and prepare even for a brighter future of work.
The Botswana Government COVID-19 Economic Advisory Committee carried out an evaluation of the potential economic impact on the country. The outcomes of that evaluation have formed the basis for the necessary government-supported social and economic plan, which has had to be designed to mitigate the impact of the pandemic across board.
In fact, we import 90% of our medicals, pharmaceuticals from outside the continent. And imagine that now we have disrupted global supply chains, and some of the countries have imposed restrictions on the export of medical supplies. What do we do? So the question that you ask is more about looking inside and asking ourselves, what is it that we can do that can have an African solution?
Africa is confronted with a double supply and demand shock that arrived in three successive waves. A first wave came from China through weakened trade channels and lower foreign direct investment, and to some extent, Dr. Phiri related to that. A second wave arrived from OECD countries due to the EU demand slump associated with the lockdown and the halt in tourism. Most small island developing states, North African countries, as well as several West African economies depend on the European Union for at least 50% of their trade. Finally, a third wave came from the shock on internal demand and the slowdown of intra-African trade. The shock to internal demand has been driven by disruptions in household and business spending, and particularly impacted countries with strict confinement measures such as South Africa.
O desemprego, o subemprego, a informalidade, o déficit em termos de proteção social e a precariedade são grandes preocupações para muitos países africanos, pois os setores público e privado não produzem empregos adequados para absorverem a maioria da população em idade de trabalhar, particularmente os jovens recentemente formados e as mulheres. A maioria dos povos não tem outra solução que criar empregos alternativos para si mesmo. É isso que justifica o forte domínio da economia informal no continente.
Reconduire en mieux après la crise sanitaire qui, j'espère, va arriver bientôt, en Afrique est une thématique très pertinente, actuelle et interpellatrice. Elle invite l'ensemble du continent à redoubler d'efforts pour retrouver son niveau de croissance d'avant la crise et aller au-delà. Ainsi, la mise en œuvre du cadre stratégique de l'OIT pour répondre à la pandémie devra faire de la promotion du travail décent une réalité en Afrique.
المصرية العديد من التدابير والإجراءات لدعم أصحاب العمل والعمال ومساندتهم حتى يستطيعوا التغلب على تحديات الأزمة ومعالجة آثارها. فقدمت الحكومة المصرية تسهيلات عديدة لأصحاب الأعمال لضمان الحفاظ على استمرار العمل بها، وربطت بين الحصول على تلك الامتيازات والتسهيلات بالحفاظ على حقوق العمال واحترام معايير العمل الوطنية والدولية. كما أطلق فخامة رئيس الجمهورية مبادرة لصرف منحة مالية للعمالة غير المنتظمة، فضلا عن صرف مرتبات العمالة المنتظمة بالقطاعات المتضررة وعلى رأسها قطاع السياحة. السيدات والسادة، لقد شهد الاقتصاد المصري.
Il nous faut donc bâtir un système économique et social plus résilient. Et c'est bien dans cette perspective que la Côte d'Ivoire poursuit la mise en œuvre d'importants projets tels que la généralisation de la couverture maladie universelle et le déploiement du régime social des travailleurs indépendants.
Over 12,000 workers have been temporarily laid off as a result of COVID-19. Government, through the support of the Eswatini National Provident Fund, has set up a short-term relief fund for workers who have been laid off and thus has not been paid during the partial lockdown. This benefit will cover only 2 months. The ILO and the government of Eswatini have collaborated to initiate an unemployment benefit scheme in Eswatini. Normal business operations have been affected. It may take quite some time for some businesses to get back to usual production.
Les perspectives économiques actuelles s'annoncent très alarmantes, surtout pour le secteur informel où l'offre de production s'élève à 70% contre 30% seulement pour le formel. Je saisis cette occasion pour porter à votre connaissance que le ministère du Travail a mis en place une commission tripartite et plus par arrêté numéro 2037 MG-FIPSAC/CAB en vue de recenser les entreprises et les secteurs informels les plus impactés par la pandémie pour ensuite élaborer un plan stratégique d'accompagnement.
COVID-19 has posed both challenges and opportunities. We therefore, as African region, need to strengthen efforts to contain COVID-19. We must also seize opportunities that COVID-19 has revealed. To facilitate economic recovery, the international financial institutions should consider giving debt relief to developing countries.
Cash transfers are not only one of the most impactful tools we have in development, they're particularly well suited to respond to this crisis by mitigating economic impacts on the most vulnerable and supporting adherence to quarantine and social distancing measures. Countries are increasingly recognizing this, and without doubt, COVID-19 has accelerated the social protection and jobs agenda.
Many households are now more likely to fall into poverty as a direct consequence of the pandemic, and many lost their jobs, and particularly those working in the informal sector, which represents 70% of the jobs that we have. Women and girls obviously are disproportionately affected.
Workers are the backbone of the society and the drive behind our country's economic growth and stability.
Le problème fondamental pour l'Afrique, c'est la transformation de l'économie africaine qui repose sur l'exportation des matières premières, les services et aussi l'informalité. Il y a aussi, donc il faut la transformer en une économie durable qui crée de la richesse et de l'emploi durable.
En Algérie, l'expérience mise en place ces 4 dernières années a fait prévaloir l'utilisation de la couverture sociale comme vecteur d'intégration. Et j'insiste là-dessus. Cette démarche a permis de doubler le nombre d'affiliés cotisants à la Caisse de sécurité sociale des travailleurs non salariés, dits indépendants. Nous sommes très conscients que la transition de l'économie informelle vers l'économie formelle ne peut et ne doit en aucun cas se réaliser par le biais de la coercition.
Au Gabon, nous avons une politique d'entrepreneuriat jeune, une véritable politique où nous accompagnons avec des renforcements de capacités, des incubateurs, nous accompagnons ces jeunes et nous accompagnons également les femmes parce que nous avons observé que dans nos marchés, ce sont les femmes qui représentent la plus grande frange du segment informel. Et ça représente à peu près aujourd'hui, sur l'ensemble du territoire, on peut dire 80%.
The important thing is for us to render active support to the informal sector, SMEs, MSMEs. I know many African countries are already having financial support base for them to tap into. However, the major challenge that they have is reciprocism, that is bureaucracy. Many of them that are even interested in tapping into the loans that are provided by government do not have the opportunity because of several red tapes that makes it difficult for them to access it.
Quelle est la composition de ce secteur informel constitué essentiellement de jeunes? Or, la moyenne de notre population aujourd'hui, c'est presque moins de 24 ans. Pour d'autres pays même, c'est à partir de 20 ans, n'est-ce pas? Ensuite, c'est des femmes. Et la majorité de ceux qui interviennent dans le secteur informel sont analphabètes, n'est-ce pas? Dans leur grande majorité. Donc, mettre l'accent sur l'éducation et la formation de nos jeunes, faire en sorte qu'ils puissent être accompagnés, bénéficier de formations qualifiantes, n'est-ce pas? Faire en sorte qu'ils puissent réellement montrer leurs capacités et leurs talents.
The main reason why enterprise choose to remain informal arises from multiple procedures in applying for business registration and which are hectic and restrictive, inadequate capital, expensive loans, lack of collateral to support the loan application, inadequate markets as a result of stiff local competition, poor infrastructure, roads, power and water, and insufficient social protection. To address this, the government is facing these challenges, and going forward, we expect to see an increase in the number of enterprises that transit from informal to formal. These include reduction in the number of bureaucracies involved, improvement of business registration, reducing the number of processes that we follow.
We had a conditional cash register done by the World Bank with the government that had 2.6 million households. But we discovered that with the lockdown, the number of people in the vulnerability group has increased, even if not double that number. So government had to increase the register and had to now give food stamp and cash to people through the conditional cash transfer.
We have 76% of our labor force in the informal sector. Most of these are young people between the ages of 20 and 44, guided by the ILO's recommendation 204 on facilitating the transition from informal to formal economy.
Since the lifting of the sanitary curfew on the 1st of June, the government has also decided to extend the wage assistance scheme and self-employed assistance scheme in the tourism and related sector, which are still heavily affected for the month of June. And we are working in close collaboration with the sector for the coming month because we don't have an overview when activities will start in that particular sector.
Covid-19 que se verifica nos países de acolhimento da nossa diáspora irá induzir a contração das remessas dos imigrantes, 3,5% do PIB em 2018, bem como das operações de capital público e privado e do investimento estrangeiro com destino para o país.
As most women are represented in the informal economy, there is serious need also for governments to look and push for ratification of the Convention 190 that has to protect against violence and harassment in the same informal economies. So a push towards informalization has to be taken seriously. A push towards formalization has to be taken seriously so that the informal traders and workplaces are protected by the law.
That the informal sector needs to be approached in a differentiated manner. There are those who are informal by choice. Those who are informal by choice are basically making doing business difficult for those who are formal. And they would rather maybe perhaps even fall back to informality because they're being undercut. So the practical solution is to increase or strengthen enforcement of compliance. For instance, the issue of counterfeits. If that is addressed, then it will be unattractive for them to continue to remain informal.
Au-delà de l'impact sur la santé, la COVID-19 a gravement affecté nos économies à travers les mesures restrictives qui ont été mises en place dans la plupart des pays. En plus des besoins énormes d'investissement pour le développement en Afrique, il faudra supporter le choc de la COVID-19 et pour certains de nos pays, il sera nécessaire d'initier et de mettre en œuvre des processus de relance économique pour soutenir les entreprises et ainsi éviter la récession.
To expand the scope of social dialogue beyond the traditional areas of industrial relations to address economic and social policy issues. The crisis has exposed this gap and this need, so we as social partners need to step up to the plate and expand our conversation. In this regard, we want to commend several countries that have actually taken the initiative to sign memorandums of understanding or framework agreements on their own as social partners to help manage the crisis, and Kenya is one of them. My colleague who spoke earlier, Francis Atwoli, I believe, referred to it. But the reality is that if you look at the social dialogue structures in our continent, only a few countries have an institutional mechanism for involving social partners in policy issues outside of labor matters. So the ILO should assist its constituents to increase their capacity on social and economic key drivers, including those of productivity.
Those lessons that the crisis has taught us, we must take seriously moving forward. And we would like to underline that as Africa, the common standards that we all cherish, we must also hold ourselves to these standards and not just meet to talk about them, but to develop the supervisory mechanism and monitoring mechanisms to ensure that those standards that we hold dear and talk about, we are able to support each other to achieve those standards.
One key takeaway from all the conversation we've had today is that the Centenary Declaration, the Abidjan Declaration, and the framework to guide our response to COVID-19 are very valuable and very relevant. That has come out very clearly. Partnerships at national levels, at continental levels, at global levels are paramount. We have to work together.